focus.
Boom! Welcome to the Knowledge Drop. We are live over here, episode number 51 of the show. And guess what, guys? Anybody tuning in, let you know that actually we just turned 10 years a couple of days ago. So back in May 2015, the B1B Girl Dojo was released as the learning platform at first, and it's been expanding ever since into like new courses and tons of content, and also for the podcast and live stuff that we do over here. So I'm glad you've been tuning in. Decade is a long time, but it went quick, and we keep it coming with new fresh guests every single episode. And today we got Big Sunny from all the way from USA. We're gonna discuss her competing experiences this far. How was it for her in Paris, and also how does she train, and what is her exit game? Does she have a plan B for breaking? And does she think that is necessary, or go all in and heads on to give it all you got? Let's see. I'm interested about this, and I hope to be inspired as well. And I'm sure I will like yourself too. So let's get Sunny over here live. Boom! Reporting live from New York City. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Sipping some tea and taught a couple of DJ workshops today. It was actually a dope morning. It was like a not a festival, but like an expo for music colleges all around my country. So they came to my
Oh,
city,
wow.
and actually they took some DJ workshop. There was an MC from my city who was teaching rapping, and then there was a blues workshop as well, um, some samba music workshop, and like a bunch of stuff. And I was like
That's so
hoping, like,
dope.
wish we had something like this back in my days when I was in college. So it's been a
Yeah.
good day
I mean,
this
I wish
far.
we had things. I was there. I wish we had
Yeah,
things like that in New York too, but we haven't got that set up yet.
I guess school has changed. I haven't been back to school ever since I left, so will be interesting to see like how is the school system these days compared to what it was when I was still on the bench. Well, it's probably changed quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
What about yourself? What do you have coming up? Waking up to a new morning, 9 a.m. in New York City, and which borough is it?
I'm in Queens, the best borough, in case
Queens,
anyone asks.
the best one. That was the first
Um,
borough I experienced when I landed
oh,
in New
really?
York.
Oh,
My
yeah. I
host
mean, everyone
at the
actually
time was
flies
living in
into Queens.
Queens. Yeah,
Who was?
yeah. And I was actually staying in Queens as well. First time I came to New York, 2005. I was staying at B-boy Brisk's house, who was still living in his mom's place at the time, and we were chilling in Queens most of the time. Yeah, that's my introduction
Yeah.
to New York.
Yeah,
Cool.
Queens
What
is
do you
a
have
fun
coming up
borough.
today?
Today, so I've actually gotten into running. I mean, basically, after the Olympics, I was pretty burned out from breaking, and I needed to take a little bit of time away. So I've been kind of in and out since. And I started running, and I've started doing some other stuff just to kind of see what I can do physically. I'm actually studying for the CSCS exam, which here in the US, it's Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. So I want to be like a personal trainer and a coach. Um, so that's kind of what I'm doing most days. I'm like working at a local gym and, breaking on the side here and there. I figure breaking's going to be there for a while, so I don't need to do it every day. I mean, to be honest, this is the first time I've taken more than like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks away from breaking in over 15 years. So this is all really weird and
Wow.
new to me.
I feel the same. Yeah, like I just got my second kid a couple of months ago, and
Oh,
simply
congratulations.
thank you, thank you. And simply suddenly you realize like I didn't break for last week at all, and maybe the
Yeah,
week before that was like one session, and this hasn't happened in
yeah.
30 years. So it's pretty wild. It's
Wow.
like okay, life happens even though you don't train every day. Life still keeps
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
which is kind of cool. But let's get back to Queens. I feel Queens is like a forgotten borough when it comes to breaking. Everybody's speaking about Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan styles, but Queens, not too many people speak about. Tell me about Queens and breaking and hip hop in general. How is the connection? What are people
I
we need to
mean,
know
Queens
about?
is,
And
I think a lot of people actually know about this one practice spot it's in Forest Hills. I used to just call it Hills. And it's, um, like jigs and K-Mill battle there, like way back in the day. There's footage of that. But like everyone who came in from abroad used to come to this practice spot that was in Queens. It was like this big basketball court. You used to have a different floor. When I moved to New York, the floor changed to be like orange and green. So it's like a really specific floor. You'll notice it in footage and stuff. But I feel like that was like really, the training grounds for a lot of people in New York. And a lot of people came to Queens specifically for that. So I think that was really dope. And I mean, a lot of the big New York City crews actually come out of Queens. And so historically, I feel like Queens has been really active breaking wise. But everyone talks about the Bronx because that's where it started. So.
Yeah. Can you drop some names if people want to dig deeper into some Queens b-boys or b-girls? Should they look for?
Man, I'm terrible at like the older generation names because I moved here later. But I mean, the crews that are from here, like Five Crew, I think Dynamic, there's a few people, but X Fiends, Supreme Beings. Who else is from Queens? I feel like I'm missing one and I feel really bad about it. But yeah, most of the major New York City crews are from Queens.
That's pretty
At least
wild.
in
Like
the
the list that you said reminds me like that's pretty much all of the newer generation. Like
yeah,
people who made noise came from Queens after
yeah,
the 80s and 90s, right? That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah, yeah, that's correct.
Cool. All right. Um, Tell me about your introduction to breaking. What was it that got your attention? How did it caught your eye, and how did you get hooked?
So I actually started breaking in college. I was living in Philly and started at Penn. I was a gymnast for the first 15 years growing up. So I started when I was 3, and I actually wanted to go to the Olympics, funny enough. So I did gymnastics until I was like 17, 18. I tore my ACL, tore a bunch of other stuff in my knee, had a couple different instances with my knee. So I ended up quitting before college. So when I got to college, I was like just bored and lost. And my whole life I had been active and I didn't know what to do with my body, basically. So one night I was walking around and the school, like the breaking college club, was dancing outside on this like really smooth concrete that we had on campus. And I just like walked by and I stopped and I was like, oh, that looks pretty dope. And they were like, hey, you should come take a class. I was like, all right, whatever. And, I was, freshman year, so I was drinking and, lots of things seem like a good idea when you're not sober. So I went to take the class and it was actually a popping class. I was so bad at it. I still to this day, I don't even try popping because my body just doesn't get it. And afterward they, we were chatting and they're like, oh, you're a gymnast, so you should try this. So like the first day they had me trying like a 90. And they had me doing stuff on my hands and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I really like this because it's different. And so I started breaking with the group. And then they would go to events that were like with the greater Philly audience. So we would go to an event called The Gathering, which happened once a month in Philly. And it was just like literally just a gathering of a bunch of hip hop heads. So it was like breakers, graffiti artists, MCs, just everyone in this space kind of just doing their thing. And so we started going to that. I started going to like community practices and really kind of getting more entrenched into the scene. And that's when I really started I was interested, but I wasn't really dancing yet. I was actually too scared to dance in front of anyone. So I used to just sit in the corner of the room and watch everyone else. Or, when you have a cipher and you're trying to be not in the front row, but like 2-3 rows back so you can kind of see, but there's no chance anyone's going to call you out or push you into the cipher. Like I was like that
There you
for
go.
like, I don't know how many years. But yeah, I knew like there was something really special about what everyone was doing. There was something that like really was drawing me in. And at the time I couldn't think of what it was. Now I know it's just like that freedom of expression, like knowing that these people were like really truly being themselves, was really dope because my whole life I had lived like doing things that other people had told me to do, but I had never really just been allowed to be me and do what I wanted. And so that was really cool, but it was scary because I'd never done it, but I knew I wanted to. And so I think that's what kind of kept me going with breaking.
Shout out to Why Not tuning in, Philly in the house, AER, B-Boy Big Up podcast as well. Big up. And last time I was in Philly for the first time in my life, I think it was last year, everybody spoke about the gathering as well. So that was your
Yeah.
introduction too, like very early on, you went to the gathering that
Yes.
already had
Yeah.
some
Yeah. Yeah.
dope legendary battles going down. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
you can really call an introduction. Like, okay, first year, boom, straight to the
Yeah.
Shark Tank, as we would say.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I was just thrown straight in the deep end.
Perfect. Yeah. Maybe it's a good idea to stand back a couple of lines from the cipher. So not your first year, you get called out by somebody on the top. That'd be a good idea. Cool. And you said you was in college or around that time, but did I understand right that you had another kind of career as well, like a corporate job earlier on in those
Hmm.
days, or how was it? Can you tell about that?
Yeah. So I went to college for business. I went to Wharton, and so I started breaking freshman year of college. So throughout college, I was dancing, and I think that's kind of what kept me grounded because I went to business school, but I hated it. Um, and I kind of did it because I thought, well, this is going to set me up with a career, and I'll have money, and then I can have a house and a family and kids, and do the things that I'm supposed to do, right? Supposed to do. And so I finished business school, and then I lived in Philly for about 1 year after that, and then I moved to New York, and I was working in corporate. So the whole time while I was breaking, I was working full time, and started in kind of smaller jobs, and then just kind of climbed the ladder like people do in corporate. And so my last job, I was working at like a really big skincare company here in New York, as a director of global creative operations. And to be honest, I loved my team. There were things about the job that I enjoyed, but I always knew that I didn't want to be working in corporate forever. I just had no idea like what my pathway out was. And in New York, it's so hard to make a living off of breaking. There's a couple of people here and there who do it, but it's a real grind. And I wasn't sure that I was cut out for that, especially as like a woman in breaking. And so I was kind of looking for my way out. And, when they announced the Olympics, it was like, well, if I was looking for an excuse, I mean, it sounds like a pretty good one. So I quit my
Hmm.
job then, and then decided to just change everything.
Wow. Did the leap. Don't come any better when it comes to opportunities. Yeah. And I'm sure it was scary as well. Like I remember dropping
Yeah.
off from school myself for breaking. I was at the university for a little while, and then
Hmm.
like the amount of convincing yourself to convince your
Hmm.
parents is a good idea.
Yeah.
It's like going home, throwing
Yeah.
your backpack for the corner, and you're like, I'm quitting university to become a b-boy. They're like, you're crazy. Get out of here. Not a good idea. But
Yeah.
I made a promise back then, like, okay, if I drop off now, give me a couple
Hmm.
years, I'll go back to school. But now it's my time to really push this thing as heavy as possible. And I
Yeah.
did. So I took
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
7 years off, went back to school, and graduated for arts management back then.
Hmm.
So I guess aside for everything, how was that leap for you? And do you recommend it for people who are on the verge?
I mean, I have never, well, that's why I can't say I've never looked back. There are days where I question myself, but in general, I'm way happier, and I feel much better about my decisions, and I feel like I'm doing the thing that's right for me for the first time, which is really dope. Um, do I recommend it? It's so individually specific. It really depends on like your situation and where you're at, and you just have to be honest with yourself. Can I really do this? Can I make this happen? And am I gonna make this happen? Like I knew if I quit my job, no matter what, I was gonna make something happen. And like worst case scenario, I go back to my job, and I have money there that I can make if I have to. But I didn't want that to happen, but I knew that I had a plan B. So I think one of the hard things about breaking is it's such a hard living that it's smart to have a plan B, because you never really know. When I initially quit my job, I always knew I wanted to work. You know, I love teaching, I love giving back, I love working with kids. I always knew that I wanted to kind of teach or have a community center or something like that. And I thought initially that was going to be what I was going to do after the Olympics. And then kind of when you look at the money situation and stuff, it's like, it's rough out here and we're not getting any more money for the arts right now. So, I've had to shift plans. And while that's still on my radar, I still plan to do that. Right now, it's like I'm doing this personal training stuff, going to be a strength coach. Hopefully, I'm going to make money from, building a gym and having my own space for that. And then I'll have a community center that's really focused on community and making breaking really accessible and supporting, but not taking from the community. Like, I think my issue was I didn't want to charge a lot of money for dance because I don't think it should be that way. But if I wanted to make a living, how else do you do that? So I think, in my head, I had to change my plans because, it's just not easy to make a living here in New York. So, even there, I've had to kind of be flexible with like the goal that I really wanted and then my actual pathway to getting there. It's initially I really wanted this dance center like right after the games. And then it's like, well, that's not going to happen. I need to make some money for myself and make sure that like I can survive so that I can support this dance center for New York, whatever that looks like, hip hop center, dance center. So even that's shifting and it'll probably change again. But, down the road, I do want to do that. But yeah, just goes to show that like it changes all the time. And right now might not be the time for someone to quit their job. Even if you hate it, it's like the timing has to be right. Your headspace has to be right. And when you feel it and you can trust yourself, like go for it. But I wouldn't be like, yeah, everyone should quit their jobs and go do this now.
Yeah, of course, of course. But I do appreciate that happiness has value in your life. Like we always speak about careers, we speak about family, but like happiness, do we speak about like it's an important thing to have in your life? And like my wife says, like the purpose of life is being happy. And that was to me like, oh, well, actually it makes a lot of sense. Coming up as a
Yeah.
b-boy, wanting to win everything and like going against resistance and like working through the pain. I'm like, well, I never heard that before. But then again, it made a lot of sense. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, if you had a perfect world, no limitation whatsoever, your dream would be actually to having a gym slash youth center, and what would be the ultimate dream for you in New York?
If money was no issue at all, yeah, it would be to have just kind of, I'm calling it a performance center, but like a performance center and community center in one. Like basically just merging so that you have opportunity for breakers who just want to just dabble and have fun and just be around cool people. And then you also have a place where for people who want to be serious, they can train, but they can train smart. One of the things that I think a lot of the people more recently are learning about breaking is the way that we were doing it before wasn't really great for our bodies, at least not for like longevity, right? Like you can't break forever if you just keep slamming your shoulder into the floor, your knee into the floor over and over and over again. Or especially for a woman without strength training, breaking is really challenging because breaking, just the biomechanics of breaking are challenging for people who have a lower center of gravity. And so that on top of the fact that women biologically are weaker up top than a man makes breaking really difficult. So like being able to have the facilities so somebody can augment their breaking and make sure they're doing it in a safe, smart way is kind of the facility that like I wanted to create for breakers. Because I think that's, again, super grateful for like the way that breaking came up like in the streets. And it was all like, when I was breaking back in the day, when I first started, everyone's like, don't stretch at the gym. You got to go ready because someone might call you out the second you walk in the door. And nowadays it's like, well, if you don't stretch or like at least do some warming up, like you can hurt yourself, right? And if we're trying to break for like 20, 30 years, maybe we should just like think about that a little and make sure we're doing it smart. And so, we're not trying to take away and I mean, yeah, the culture changes over time. And so there is some of that rawness that disappears when you walk into a gym and everyone's stretching the quarter. There's some give and take there. But I think in general, when it comes to our bodies, you only have one of them. So you better take care of it because we want to keep doing this forever. And not only do we want to be able to break, but then you want to be able to go home and like pick up your kids, pick up your grandkids. You want to be able to move. And so it's like, it goes beyond just what we do on the dance floor, I think. And so I wanted to create a space where people can really kind of look at their bodies as a whole and take care of it so that you can move on the dance floor and off.
Awesome. And let's throw it to the universe so it's more likely to happen. Would that be a nonprofit or would it be something for like you said, like you wouldn't want to charge it in the same way? So how would this be funded? Would it be government funded or sponsorship funded or a combination of all?
So that's the issue. Here in the States, there's not a ton of state funding for the arts. I mean, there's very little. And I think generally this is actually kind of known because you can tell by the way that we throw our events and stuff. Like we just don't have a lot of government funding for these. So, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of like corporate interest in breaking either. So my goal is to be able to make enough money on the kind of fitness business side to help offset some of the cost of having it as a nonprofit center. And obviously there would be like grant writing. So, you know, New York City, New York State provides a little bit more in terms of like arts funding. So there would be some government grants, but they wouldn't be like national. They would be local government grants. And then like there are other donors and stuff. So people who are like interested and they give money. And so, you know, there'd be a lot of grants associated, I think, with the nonprofit, but definitely for the dance center down the road, I want it to be very accessible for people, which means, you know, not making money off of it, but really just kind of pouring in money into it, putting money back into, you know, the community that's, you know, given so much to me. So,
Yeah, maybe making that like putting that overlap of the fitness business and industry into the arts and dance and education could work because a lot more sponsorship over there in the fitness side and products people can sell.
yeah.
So there's more money involved and more sponsorship in that way. So maybe that could be the case.
Yeah.
Cool. Speaking about sports, let's throw this back to Paris. So you were part of the experience in Paris 2024. Tell me about how was it for you as a dancer over there on that stage?
I had a lot of fun while I was breaking over there. You know, it's funny because my whole life, when I started breaking, I told myself, I just want to be able to express myself freely. I want to like be able to not care about what other people think about me. I want to be able to just go out there, listen to music and do whatever happens in the moment. And me being a perfectionist and having really high standards, that's never been the case. I've never been able to do that. I've always, you know, when I first started breaking, I had like, you know, as we all do, like sets, and they would be a little bit longer. And I, you know, I had to get them perfect. I would be so mad if I didn't. But then I would always forget them. So then I started moving away from sets and like, you know, I put little combos together here and there. And but then it was like every time I would get out there, I would just forget to dance and just like forget how to move. You know, I get so stuck in the moment that I would just lose myself. I feel like the Olympics was one of, not the first time, but one of the most memorable times where I was able to really like lock in and let go. And it was really dope because I was able to really enjoy myself on stage and I didn't care how I did at all. And I just went out there and had fun and like wanted to represent, you know, who I am and where I come from to the world in the best way that I could. And so that's what I did. And you know, initially when I saw like the judging, I was like, whatever, you know, but like also I kind of knew like I don't even care about this today. Like I just want to be me. And so I did that and I walked away and honestly, I don't think I could have been happier with how I did. I think I would have been more upset if I went in with all these like, you know, all these power combos set up and all this stuff so that I could win the battle, because then I would have walked away and known that I didn't hit my like lifelong breaking goal, which is just to go out there and have fun. And I think that to me was really important. And to be able to do that on a stage like the Olympics, I think was like special for me. My family got to see it. You know, I think it represents a side of breaking that has been getting lost. So much of it is about competition and about doing these like really crazy power moves and doing everything that's like technically so difficult. But people forget that it's like really just about being yourself and having fun, because that's what, and yes, it's about beating the person you're battling, but it also is about expressing yourself and having fun out there. And I was back in the backstage. I mean, the music was super dope on the practice floor, and I was just like having a good time and dancing, and like nobody else was doing that. And I'm like, while this isn't a jam, we should still bring some of that element to the Olympics. And I didn't really feel that. And I think that part is the part that I've kind of been missing in breaking, and part of why I probably am also burnt out, because so many of these competitions have been this way. But yeah, that element of like just dancing and having fun and vibing, and like a lot of that was gone, but I kind of just did that myself. And so, I had a lot of fun there.
That's wild that actually happened on one of the most how would you say, the stage with the most pressure. You could see from the outside, like there's live streaming everywhere and mad people watching and a lot of people critiquing in the whole thing. So you wouldn't expect that to actually happen, like, oh my god, I finally let go on that stage and representing myself. So respect, big up for that, and that's very unexpected.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't know if I could do it, because I set such a high standard for myself, and I'm such a perfectionist that I was scared I was going to get in my own way, that I was going to show up and be like, all right, like I got to hit all my moves and I need to make sure I'm beating so-and-so. And like, I'm this many points down. Like that's how I've done some of the other events, so that I could qualify. But I knew it's like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be happy if I did that. Like I'm in this dance because I love it. I'm in this dance because it allows me to be me. It allows me to express myself in the way I want to express myself. So to go on a stage and do anything other than that would not be okay with me. So, yeah, I'm glad I was able to.
Yeah, fresh. Success comes in many ways. How do you see yourself being involved with the competition scene after this monumental moment right now?
I mean, I'm still doing some local events. I'm battling. Funny, after the games, I got down with the crew. So like battling with the crew, and to be honest, I feel like this is pretty well known actually, but I'm not a big fan of Red Bull BC1. And so like for me, that's not ever anything I'm going to be doing anymore. And I think I'm kind of more about like the events that are thrown by the community. And so I think I'm going to try and come out to some more of those. And I have like a bucket list of events that I haven't been to that I've been wanting to go to. So it's like kind of taking those off and going, but like really just remembering to just have fun out there. Cause like, who cares anymore? Especially as you get older, it's just like, who cares?
Yeah. Is the list public? Bucket list of events?
The bucket list?
Yeah,
so I
is it
mean,
public,
I've been
or
out of
let's
the
make it
scene.
public?
We'll make it public. So one of the jams I've always wanted to go to, well, I've already been to Outbreak a couple times, but I really want to go back. Probably go back to IB. I just want to see like how it's changed. Radical Force, I've always wanted to go to. Yalta Summer Jam, that one has been on my list for forever, and I've just, it's challenging, especially with like the changes and stuff. And I don't know what it's like traveling from the US there, so that might complicate things. Combo Nation, I would like to go just to kind of experience what it's like. It looks really wild. Who Got the Flower in France, I've heard, pretty dope event. I've never been to like World B-Boy Classic or some of these other like UK breaking champs, like some of the other big like legendary events that have happened. I've never been in, I've never just gone to experience it. So I'd like to go. What else is there? There's probably more that I'm just not thinking of, but probably I'd like to see one of the big events in Asia, because they just look like such an immense production. But I just want to go experience it, see what people are doing in other countries and see how it's done. But yeah, if I'm missing any, let me know.
That's pretty much it. No, Flomo anniversary, of course, going down in a month.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty quick.
So What's funny is when I first started dancing in Philly, I used to watch you all a lot.
Oh, okay, dope.
You, AT, Taya. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. The tall one. What is his name?
Hat solo.
Uh, yeah, Hatolo. I used to watch the
Mm-hmm.
four of you
Mm-hmm.
all so much back in the day.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah,
Small world.
definitely some
Wow.
inspiration there.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll deliver greetings when I see them next time. Okay. Tomorrow, actually, we have a session with Taya. We are preparing for a tour. We have our first show with the band on Friday in a couple of days. So we have a
Oh,
last
dope.
practice tomorrow. So I'll deliver greetings.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That'd be dope.
Cool.
But yeah, that would be. I would love to actually head out to a jam and like some of the other. So I feel like I named some of these like huge kind of events that have been around forever, but I feel like sometimes the crew anniversary events are some of the dopest ones. Like I've never been to Style Elements and I want to go to that. That's another one. So Floma would
Mm-hmm.
be dope. I've also never been to Finland. Yeah, just kind of just
Bucket
doing
list
some
gets getting
traveling
big.
and having fun. Yeah. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
traveling for the next 30
2026
years to
comes
breaking
time.
jams.
That's it. More dope jams keep popping up. It's like, oh my God, the list
Yeah.
gets longer. It's all good
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Looking back, what's been the biggest personal growth moment in breaking journey for so far?
Good question. Biggest personal growth moment. I mean, so I feel like it's cliche to say this, but I'm gonna explain. The whole Olympic journey was like the biggest personal growth moment for me. But the reason I say this is because my whole life I had been doing everything that everyone else told me to do. And the Olympic journey was the first time I actually picked something for me. And yeah, given like the Olympics is not super, it's like it's not community and it's not, like I got that it's a very specific goal, right? But it was also a goal that I had when I was a baby. When I was 3, I always wanted to be in the Olympics. So it was like life was throwing me another bone, and it's like, am I going to ignore this? And so that whole time, the whole entire Olympic journey was me kind of learning about myself, figuring out what my obstacles were and like how to get over them, and just like over and over and over knocking down internal blocks that I had so that I could show up at the games and just have the time of my life, you know?
Wow.
And so, some of those things were like just getting over like being a perfectionist, working with like this idea of like failure and things not necessarily being failure, but really being lessons. I was so scared of always not doing anything perfect that I would just not do anything at all. And, that leads to, you just doing the same old thing all the time. And like, that was the reason why I wouldn't quit my job. And it took me months actually to decide that I was going to go for the Olympics. I was probably, I don't know, like 6 months after they announced it, I finally said, all right, like I'm going to do this. But for so many months I was back and forth, and I thought, no, I don't need this in my life. Like that's not important. But really it was just me being scared to fail, but yeah, it's just the whole journey. I mean, even like something else I learned along the way was like, you can't do it all alone. And my whole life I'd been trying to do things all by myself, be this like strong, independent woman. But like, it's okay to have a team. It's okay to have people to support you. And it's okay to lean on those people when you need them. And so, that Olympic journey, I couldn't do alone. And I really had to lean in on people around me, and it was uncomfortable. But it was probably, those are the best moments that you can have in your life, when you know that you have loved ones there with you, supporting you, that will always be there for you. So yeah, there's just so many things that I learned on this journey, and I'm continuing to learn. It's like the Olympics was a Kickstarter. It started this pathway, but now it's just like me taking it and running with it and becoming, the person I am today. Which yeah, I'm the same person, but we're also different every single day. So yeah, I think that that's probably the biggest. The biggest thing was really the picking myself first. And yeah, yes, that sounds selfish, but in the context of I've always done what everyone else wanted for me and never what I wanted, this was new for me. So this for me was really important.
Dope. Well, like in the airplane, you see the signs that put yourself the mask on first, and after that, you help others, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be that person. I'm
Gotcha.
definitely helping the person next to me before mine gets on.
Yeah, cool. But hey, I'm happy that you overcame the hesitation and lack of self doubt, won yourself, and actually found that freedom on the big stage. So respect, big up for that. Where can
Yeah, thank you.
people follow your journey of the bucket list? So can you mention your socials again so they can give you a follow
Instagram,
and
it's
yep.
underscore Sunny Choi, SUNNYCHOI. I mean, honestly, I post mostly there. I don't have a YouTube. I have TikTok. I don't use it. Have Facebook. Don't use it. So Instagram would be the place to go.
That's it. Give Sonny a follow over there on Instagram underscore Sonny Choi. Gotcha. Thank you for your
Yep.
time. Appreciate you. Good luck with the bucket list, and we stay in touch.
Yeah,
Perfect.
for
Enjoy the
sure.
talk.
Well, my anniversary is on there, so I'll see you.
See you in Helsinki. All right. Cool.
Bye.
Cheers. And that's it. Sonic Joy in the house. Good luck for the bucket list journey. And everybody else tuning in, head out to bebodojo.com for the decade of work. We have some free courses out there and some bundles and offers coming up. Get yourself involved. Stay tuned to the knowledge drop. Thank you. Peace.